All of America is mourning this tragedy, including President Trump, who has ordered all flags to be flown at half-mast through Sunday. We go now to Lucas Tomlinson with the latest from the administration. Lucas.
Good morning, Ashley and Todd. The shooter was born Robert Westman, but changed his name to Robin 6 years ago. First Lady Melania Trump offering her condolences, writing, quote, "My heart is shattered for the families and friends of the victims of today's senseless and depraved violent act." The shooting began during a school-wide mass marking the beginning of the school year at around 8:30 local time yesterday morning. The shooter opened fire with a rifle, shotgun, and pistol, all legally purchased weapons, according to police. 2 children ages 8 and 10 were killed. 17 others were wounded, including 14 children and 3 elderly individuals. Also, according to police, his mother previously worked at the school. FBI Director Kash Patel is calling this a hate crime, posting, "The FBI is investigating this shooting as an act of domestic terrorism and hate crime targeting Catholics. The FBI will continue to provide updates on our ongoing investigation with the public as we are able." Now, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem says the shooter at the Catholic school was a 23-year-old man claiming to be transgender. The words "for the children" and "where is your God" and "kill Donald Trump" were written on a rifle magazine. That's according to Kristi Noem. She also said, quote, "Our deepest prayers are with the children, parents, families, educators, and Christians everywhere. We mourn with them, we pray for healing, and we will never forget them." Now, there have been 415 hostile acts against the church across the country this year. There's also been a sharp rise in attacks on Christians over the past 7 years. Attacks have increased 730% since 2018. Now, the shooter fired through the windows of the church and did not enter the building. He later died by suicide. Ashley, Todd.
Lucas Tomlinson live for us. Lucas, thank you. In just a few hours, Minnesota officials are expected to give an update on the shooting as we learn more about the shooter and their motive.
The coward that shot these victims took his own life in the rear of the church. That coward has been identified as 23-year-old Robin Westman. No prior criminal history. As to the weapons used to perpetrate this horrific attack, there was a rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol. All 3 had been lawfully purchased by the shooter. At this stage, we believe that the shooter had acted alone. We are also aware of a manifesto that the shooter had timed to be released on YouTube. This manifesto appeared to show him at the scene and included some disturbing writings.
The shooting happened in Hennepin County, where Rich Stanek served as the sheriff. He joins us now. Rich, thanks for getting up and talking to us about this. I wish it was on better terms here, but you know, what makes me the most sick about all of this, when you think about it, are those 2 kids who lost their lives. Their parents were putting them to bed for the last time the night before he was filming this horrific and disturbing manifesto about what he was going to do the next day. And that does not sit well with me, and I know it doesn't sit well with other parents. Did you ever think that something like this would happen where you served as sheriff?
You know, there really aren't words that can describe what happened yesterday here in Minneapolis. I mean, reprehensible, cowardice, and honestly, the third one I can't even say on live TV. And talking with first responders who were at the scene, they said it was horrific and ghastly. Young kids, parents, the most vulnerable parts of our society, a church service, young school-age children in school that first week celebrating together, and then you have something like this.
When you talk to your colleagues in law enforcement there on the ground in Minnesota, had any of them heard anything about this killer before? In other words, was she on anybody's radar?
You know, I mean, the investigation will tell what exactly was the true motive. You've heard the FBI say they're looking at it as a domestic act of terrorism. You've heard them say they're looking at it as a hate crime. He really didn't have much of a criminal history. May have been a graduate of the school. Still a lot of facts that need to be dug up and brought to light. But at this point, it really doesn't matter. The horrific incident happened. Children are dead. 17 others were, shot. And that's just one part of a series of tragic homicides in the city of Minneapolis in just 24 hours or less. There were 5 people killed, 4 different shootings. A mass shooting just less than 20 hours before this, 2 miles away from this elementary school out in front of a high school. And, we can do so much better as residents of Minneapolis, the public. Everybody wants to help. Some people don't know quite how to help, but just be supportive.
The age of this person is something that comes into question for me. 21, 23 years old. And I'm just wondering, can the parents be held accountable for anything that happened here? Or is the age, since this person was over the age of 18, can they not be held accountable?
No, I think, again, the facts will come out through the intense investigation by federal, state, local law enforcement. But it appears from what the Minneapolis police chief said that the guns were purchased illegally, not through a straw buyer, not something like that. But they're going to look at all those things. The fact of the matter is this suspect, if he was age 22, 23, is a legal adult here in Minnesota, in this country. And it's just tragic how this came to this. I'm sure they're going to find mental health issues. They're going to find, patterns of behavior that weren't quite right. The question is, who did what when they learned about it? Who did they talk to? Who did they report it to? I saw, like many of you, his manifesto posted online yesterday afternoon. You watch that, 11 minutes of it, like I saw, and you'll go, something is definitely wrong here. We can do so much better.
And to that point, Rich, Melania Trump speaking out following yesterday's horrific event, saying there needs to be some kind of preemptive intervention. And she's referring in large part to the mental health aspect of this. I'd like to focus on the law enforcement. I was listening to Trace Gallagher's show, and he had an individual, Aaron Cohen, on saying he's starting a program that basically has AI scouring the web for any possible warning signs. Would that help find and stop a potential killer like this well before they even think about doing something as horrific as this?
Well, law enforcement will tell you, the FBI will tell you that mental illness is a factor in many of these people who act out like this. And it's not the first time. This suspected shooter was not shy about using social media. As you know, he posted this and timed it so that it would be released after the shooting happened and maybe his death. I'm sure they're going to find a long trail of information about him and his motives. And again, why didn't somebody intervene? Why didn't somebody say something? We always find out afterwards. We do it kind of autopsy without blame, going back to an investigation to figure out why it happened, how it happened, who knew, and what can we do to do better, lessons learned. But it doesn't change the fact that these 2 young kids are dead, 17 others wounded. This community is in mourning. I was born and raised in this community. I spent 40 years as a police officer in the city of Minneapolis and Hennepin County Sheriff's Office. My colleagues who were at the scene, again, horrific and ghastly. No easy way to describe it.
And like Ashley said, we pray for the families, but to this point about AI, there have to be some breadcrumbs that AI can work with law enforcement to find.
We've got technology coming out of our ears with everything else. I don't know why we can't do it with that.
Rich Stanek, thanks for your time.
The technology is one part, folks, but you've also got to have in place something to do with it, something to react
there has to
to what you
People
find.
have to be
that's a problem. It's an expensive proposition.
Well, we're wasting millions of dollars whenever they're needing, for all these politicians who need all of this money for their elections and their campaigns. If we can garner up hundreds of millions of dollars for campaigns, for politicians, we can get money to get armed guards and to get what we need to protect these kids.
It's all that matters. Rich Stanek, got to leave it there. We got to run.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Rich.
your time, sir. Thank you. Best of luck to you and your community.
Thanks,